In Brizzy, doesn't it? Well, it's time for What's Making News now, and Helen McKay from the Australian Women's Weekly joins us. Hey, Helen.
Hello there.
Nice to see you. You've got a big exclusive. The widow of disgraced businessman Christopher Schick's Pixie has broken her silence. Her first interview in 10 years. What's she had to say?
Yeah, it's a terrific interview. She's living in a modest two-bedroom apartment in Toorak. The billions have gone. She talks about Christopher Schick and how she doesn't miss him anymore. She has moved on with her life. It was a fabulous romance while it lasted, and she loved him, but she's moved on. How she saw him cry only once, and that was immediately after Quintex went bust. And how she is desperate to come back and live in Australia, but was incredibly nervous when she flew into Australia and into Melbourne, not knowing how the Australian public would react to her return, quite understandably. But apparently Melbourne has kind of just let her get on with her life, and she's walking the streets of Melbourne, as a normal citizen again.
She's not asking for any sympathy?
Doesn't seem to be, no. She does seem to kind of understand the ramifications of what went on with the collapse of Quintex, and she does also, for the very first time, actually say she feels desperately sorry for those shareholders. And the Schick has never said that before, so that's a bit of a breakthrough.
Isn't he? Let's move on now. And Kevin Rudd, well, he's out of the lodge, but he's going to be getting something in the order of $600,000 a year in allowances for the rest of his life. It includes free first-class travel, a driver and a car, office staff. Do you think that is fair?
I had to have a look at this story quite closely because $600,000 is a lot, but I think it's about $120,000 a year is the pension. What worries me is if the Australian public throw out Julia Gillard at the next election. She's only 48 or 47, something like that. So we'd have two ex-prime ministers, and she retired, two ex-prime ministers in one term, both pulling about $20 million if they live to 85. That's a lot of money.
I've got no problem with long-serving politicians, and particularly those who have been Prime Minister, getting an allowance. But first-class travel, drivers, cars, office staff, particularly when you consider...
I think they're entitled to some of that when they immediately lose office, because I think there is still a lot of administrative work with the former Prime Minister. But as they kind of get late into life, you sort of wonder whether they still need two full-time staff and 40 free trips around Australia. 40? Do you really need 40 free trips? And some of these people are quite wealthy independently anyway. You sort of wonder whether it needs to be quite... and we've got also a lot of ex-prime ministers in this country at the moment, costing the taxpayers quite a lot of money.
All right, let's move on. Doctors in Victoria, what about this plan? So they want to give us a charge if we're late for an appointment. Now, Helen, first of all, I need to talk to you about, have you ever been to a doctor's surgery and gone straight in to see the doctor, or you like me and you've had to wait an hour every time you go?
Well, that's the thing. We all know that, don't we? We all know we don't have to get there on time for the appointment, so we factor in the 10 minutes late or the 15 minutes late, so we don't have to sit in the surgery. So I kind of feel sorry for these patients. It's a Melbourne Collins Street clinic. That's probably what they're doing. They're busy people going, oh, well, I don't need to be there on time. And next thing, they're hit with another $50 fee. Doctors, it has to be a bit of give and take when you go and see a doctor. This seems a bit rich to me.
I tell you what, just as a sidebar with Janet Patel's verdict last night, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as a result of that verdict for doctors. I think there's going to be ramifications. We'll get onto that on another time, another place. But let's finish with the national survey, Helen, that has been done that says 60% of women find men with facial hair far more attractive. Do you think facial hair is sexy, or do you prefer a well-groomed bloke?
I certainly don't think that bloke in the Daily Telegraph is sexy. That one, however, it's a whole different story. I wasn't expecting him to pop up. No, I don't, as a general rule. I love this survey, though, because 76% of men feel they're more interesting with facial hair, and 68% think it gives them more personality. Seriously, what is wrong with men if they think growing a beard gives them personality?
Well, I have to say that when I grow a beard when I'm on holidays, I do feel more manly.
What? Manly? Well, given that you're so well groomed from day to day as the host of the Today Show, I guess that's not a bad thing when you're on holidays, to feel a bit more manly.
Exactly. I cut down trees and things. Thank you very much for that, Helen.
Pleasure as always.